Alrighty, we are recording. It is currently almost 3 a.m. in the morning, but this is the only way I am able to get this video out. How's it going, people? My name is Renegade Operative, and today we will be talking about all of the recent Resident Evil Requiem hands-on gameplay and some analysis and some interesting tidbits to talk about with the new trailer or new bits of lore or new bits of story that we have discovered within all of this gameplay, all of this release material. Follow along. I found some very interesting stuff, and I'm going to start with the fascinating facts First and foremost, this video was clipped by one of my friends, and he was watching Maximilian talk about his gameplay preview when he went over to Cologne, Germany, and he played the demo of Resident Evil Requiem. And there's one thing that was noticed that many people aren't really talking about right now, and that's the fact that the main Stalker enemy, which kind of looks like Lisa Trevor, people are saying it's Lisa Trevor. I am starting to lean to the theory that this is Grace Ashcroft's mother, because it could be Lisa. There is a possibility that it could be her. She does have the shackles and everything. Maybe it's Alyssa with the same sort of virus. Whatever the case may be, this monstrosity looks completely disgusting, all right? Absolutely abhorrent. This is pure nightmare fuel. This is probably one of the best designed creatures so far for this new era of Resident Evil that they're entering into. I'm talking about like absolute scary shit. So I'm gonna be scared playing this game for sure and seeing this around the corner. I don't want to see it around the corner, and I cannot wait to get my hands on a gun and hopefully kill it. That being said, something was discovered here where the creature can apparently cut off lights in the safe room because the monster itself has some issue with light. It cannot deal with extreme light, and therefore it will start burning, the skin will start peeling, and it will exit out of a safe room. But this is cool.
He's safe.
That it could do this. You think you're safe, but you're not safe any longer.
Right? Because she's afraid of the dark, or afraid of the light.
So after a certain time, I think the creature will try to enter the room, then get burnt by the light, and then she will go up into the ceiling. If you keep trying it, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Batman Arkham City. And what I mean by Arkham City is that you as Batman, you get into a fight with Mr. Freeze, Victor Freeze. In that fight, you do significant damage to him by trying and attempting a certain tactic, and then he will destroy a portion of the room, or you can't use a certain gadget on Mr. Freeze anymore, and you have to adopt and change tactics. With this creature, it seems she enters the room once, gets burned. If you decide to do this again, she crawls into the ceiling, and this happens.
Afraid of the dark, or afraid of the light. Are there any weapons? There's bullets, but there's no gun.
Seriously.
And Max is like super shocked and surprised by this. She cuts off the lights, and I assume what follows after is the creature is able to enter the safe area and get you because there's no light. There's nothing for the creature to be afraid of anymore. And this is what I love about this game. They are subverting expectations. They are changing tactics. You think you're safe in this one area, but you're not. And I believe that Resident Evil 2 Remake did it in a ridiculous fashion where Mr. X could try to peek through a door, but he can't necessarily walk in. And the game is preventing him from doing that. Now it's like creatures can come in here, and you have to change tactics in order to survive. It's really great stuff. Another thing I have noticed is there's this one particular death scene, and I'm gonna let it play out here. Let's see. Let me make sure the volume's not too loud. If it is, I apologize. Here we go. The gore is back. I'm not sure if I can make the quality look a little better. Let's rewind the tape. Grace gets captured now, and she gets her head like eaten off. It's pretty sickening, disturbing stuff. it signifies two things. I don't like that little flash before the head is eaten, though. That's one little nitpick that I have. And another one is that I think if you're getting your whole head devoured, right? Her shirt is like white. It should be drenched in blood right now. One thing is that it's a beta, I know, but I like the detail of just blood splashing everywhere, seeping through clothes when someone is like grievously injured. And I kind of, well, she's not just grievously injured, she's grievously dead. But just, I'm leaving that in there. That's fantastic. I'm leaving that in there. But I just wish the entire shirt was just rife with blood. I'm a horror fanatic, and that's kind of the attention to detail I wish was there. Anyway, though, the thing about this scene, and she keeps chewing on the head, which is disgusting. All right, and I know there's theories of people saying, oh, this is Lisa Trevor. I think there were people who were talking about this idea of Capcom getting influence of this devouring from this painting called Saturn Devouring His Son, a painting by Goya, a famous Spanish artist, Francisco Goya. And you can kind of, I guess, see the parallels with this picture. Once again, pretty disturbing sight. And it leads back to the credence, and this is kind of why I'm starting to think just the way they're setting up the story. And it's dealing with a legacy outbreak character who is Alyssa Ashcroft, and Alyssa and Grace, you know, that's her daughter, she's the main character, and they're trying to harken back and tie things back from Outbreak into this. It just makes better thematic sense for the creature to be her mom. They were experimenting on Grace in scenes in the beginning, which were detailed in this gameplay presentation. I think that's the first cutscene that you see, where Grace is like all strung up. She's hooked up to IVs. She has tubes and needles running through her body. Clearly, whoever wants to work on her is trying to probably find a cure. And we talked about this before, where Grace is obviously someone who has potential antibodies from the daylight virus that was administered to Alyssa Ashcroft in Resident Evil Outbreak. I think it was File 2. I'm not particularly sure which scenario that was. Correct me if wrong in the comments, obviously, but I know they get the daylight strain and they inject it into themselves, and these vaccines lead to obviously a lot of interesting anomalies in the future with certain characters and certain antibodies. We know that Jill, she has a differing variation of antibodies that could do cool shit. We saw it when Wesker sort of was experimenting on her in RE5, and she started to get like superhuman reflexes. And I would imagine maybe these antibodies inside of Grace, or this virus, or these sort of like, you know, vaccines and whatnot that they are creating that are passed inherently down from one person to the next. I would imagine that, again, this is the lead in to what the villain wants, probably curing himself, because he's a very like weird looking man when you look at him. Hold on, I'm gonna skim through some of this trailer and you kind of see him here. People are saying this is Wesker. I just don't see it personally. Look, I love Wesker as a character. I just don't think it's him. I think it's somebody else. It might be this Brandon Bailey dude that the BSA did not find, and that was logged into research and records and all this stuff from Resident Evil 8. And Brandon Bailey was also mentioned in RE7. This could be a completely new person. We have no idea, but he strangles this guy randomly. Slits his fucking throat, and you can just tell he's infected. Like, this ooze is leaking from his eyes. And I was talking about this in the Let's Talk Resident Evil server, right? And I did say, if this is Brandon Bailey and this is not a returning character, it is kind of weird that he has a hoodie on. Or maybe the idea is Capcom wants you to think this. They want to maintain suspense. They want you to think, oh, this could be a legacy villain coming back into fruition, and then it's completely somebody else. It could be, it could not be. But I reserve judgment. I reserve my judgment until they finally reveal this character later on in press material, whether it's through a trailer, because sometimes Capcom does that, or if they keep it close to the chest at launch and they decide, hey, we're going to talk about them then. But yeah, I do think it's Alyssa. I'm starting to think that, because it would be the saddest thing ever to have Grace kill an infected version of her mom, and then she wants revenge. Therefore, she teams up with Leon or something, and they go to Raccoon City to really put a kibosh to all this bullshit, because we know that there are still people working in and outside of Raccoon City. And speaking of that interesting notion, there was this t-shirt, and I believe this t-shirt, which Nakanishi showed on purpose, lays some groundwork for how they're setting up Raccoon City, the lore behind it, and the story. And some of this was translated, and it talks about the history of Raccoon City, what happened in 1998, and then it goes down the list. But the interesting part is when it stops on this tidbit of what is ellipsis. Last month, the federal government announced an extension of Raccoon City's lockdown, now set to continue until 2040. The town is still cordoned off, which makes perfect sense, because there's people, authorized personnel, so to speak, who has set up town there, who has set up shop there, still experimenting on biological weapons. We kind of saw this with other Resident Evil titles. We saw Tricell go into there and take sort of extractions out of there as well. Former Umbrella scientists in Outbreak still setting up camp there and doing God knows what, and saying there's still life out here evolving. And I would imagine we're gonna see all of that. And I know Dusk Golem talked about more rumors and speculation of, oh, Leon might have a bike when he shows up. I can see them doing a Raccoon City-esque hub, but clearly there's because it's a lot of destroyed debris as well. So I'm wondering how a bike is going to work on the streets, and half the cars are fucking destroyed, stone and everywhere. This place was nuked by a thermobaric bomb. I would imagine that driving a motorcycle will probably not be the most pleasant, but who knows how this is going to be coordinated. I have no idea. Dusk Golem could be lying out of his ass, but I think if Leon does show up in this game, and if there is some sort of hub area in Raccoon City, he's obviously going to come prepared, and he probably will be driving some sort of vehicle somewhere. I just wonder how it's going to work to some degree. I don't know. I'm just speculating out of my ass. Anyway, he says what is ellipsis, and how they are having this lockdown, and the city has remained under lockdown since the sterilization operation following the viral outbreak in 1998. Although initial plans aimed to start, and he couldn't translate the rest, but it says lockdown in 2026, and then it goes into a government official was quoted saying that the extension was because safety cannot be possibly maintained in the town, and people are probably still getting devoured, is what I assume, to fill in that blank. So that's cool that after all this time, Raccoon City is a hazard, a danger zone, and the government knows it. I would assume 100% with certainty that if they are going to have mysteries and hidden layers be uncovered with the Raccoon City incident, then it would be a non-shocker that if Leon is involved, if there is more conspiracies to it, that we will delve deeper into what they were doing at the time, you know, the government and the underhandedness and some of the deals coming out to light even further with this game. But yeah, the lockdown is still prevalent. If you did not know, if you weren't aware, oh my god, that thing is ugly. Okay. Oh my god. There's one other little thing that I think I discovered on Discord. I think it's two of them. Just small little details here or there. I'm gonna enhance this video, but the creature is smart and it will use objects in the environment against you. And I'm hoping that you can also do the same thing to the creature as well. Maybe if there's a canister, you can blow it up and do damage to it if you have a gun. There is gunplay in this game. I don't know why people on Twitter were assuming that, oh my god, Grace does not have a weapon, when there was a weapon shown in some of the previews that Capcom was talking about with this game forever ago. Just people aren't paying attention to the marketing and believing what they want to believe. But you'll see creatures there, and you see that big container right there. She smacks it towards Grace and that does damage. That's kind of cool. It shows you can be far away, and even if this thing is like just lanky and all over the place, you're never really safe from long range, because the monster can throw shit at you or lob shit at you in third person, and it looks pretty cool. Again, you can go into first person and third person in this game. Man, we were talking about Requiem all fucking day when this news came out. Oh, I was asleep and people were still talking about it. Oh man, there was something else that was posted. Oh yeah, the main menu theme. I think I have it here. There was a comparison to that in Outbreak. God damn it, I can't find it. Hold on, give me a second, I will find it for you guys. I found it. Here it is. This is the main menu theme of Resident Evil Requiem, which kind of gives me those Manhunt vibes, almost. Very dark, atmospheric, intense, and here is The Plague Cometh. People in the comment section, I'm not taking credit for this one, but people in the comment section said this was a remix of The Plague Cometh from Resident Evil Outbreak. In the beginning, definitely kind of shows it when you listen and pay close attention. Oh, that gets my blood going, man, because again, a lot of this game is referring back to Outbreak, and I am just so excited that Capcom actually decides to go back and make that piece of lore, that side game, instrumental as a main game. And you kind of have to if you're going back to the RPD. Now this was the Gamescom trailer, right? And this is the final two parts of my breakdown: the gameplay, which is this video, and the trailer. And I'm not gonna show too much of the trailer. Basic synopsis: Grace is just chilling with her mom. Alyssa knows someone is coming after her after they disable the lights. They have a little conversation. You start to, damn, she thick. All right. Why did it land on that screen cap? You know, I'm leaving that in because that's funny as fuck. But she starts talking to her mom. The lights go out, and I guess the main thing is you start to get this heart to heart. You start to get this sense that Alyssa knows that it's over. She's accepting her fate. She knows someone's coming. And in the demo, I'm gonna assume this is gonna be the starting incident. This is gonna be the tutorial. You follow your mom out. She has a gun. She's all worried. You don't know what the fuck's going on as a player by this point.
Mom, wait.
And she doesn't either. Grace doesn't either. And then they meet this random man. I'm not gonna play through it all. He gets attacked and killed. by the hooded man. They go in here, and here's a character moment where you see Grace is hyperventilating. She's they try to put some spice on it. She's a lot more vulnerable and different, and I saw people also complain about this on Twitter, where it's like, oh, why is she painting all like this? Where is the badass characters like Leon and Jill, who doesn't do shit like that? And I just believe that people have to understand, even Leon and Jill and all these other people, they had their moments where they were vulnerable initially and scared in their first iterations, right? In Remake 1, Jill throws up after stomping a zombie's head in. She's not like a super tough badass by that point. She's vulnerable, right? In Resident Evil 2, Leon doesn't know what the fuck's going on, and he's all confused, and nobody is listening to him. He's not taking command presence of all of the situations. He's out of his element as a rookie cop. We need some human vulnerability to these characters. This is why I'm on the side of, I think Grace is needed for this game, even though I want this game to eventually move to the legends that were in the Raccoon City incident in the second half of the game. The first half being all scary, spooky, and you have a person who is not in their elements is very instrumental to keeping survival horror alive.
Grace, look at me.
I love this stuff personally. I love that she's freaking out. I love that she doesn't know what the hell's going on. I love that she just saw murder in front of her and she has no idea to react to the situation but to hyperventilate and be scared and stressed. This brings us closer to horror with the character.
Grab my hands. Okay, look at me. Look at me. In and out. Breathe in and out. Oh, Grace. I promise you, I will explain this all to you one of these days.
Now, one criticism I do agree with this scene is I believe that Alyssa is a bit stone-faced in this scene when, well, if you subscribe to your fate and you know that you're possibly going to die in front of your daughter, you would be a little bit more scared and freaked out. Just a little bit. That's the only issue I have. The Grace actress, she's perfect, but Alyssa being a little bit too stone-faced, it's not selling it for me, but it's just a small nitpick at the end of the day. I do love when she says, I love you, and she gives her a hug and whatnot, because some bad shit is about to happen.
Grace, please know that you are my hope. Never forget that. What do you...
Okay, so we're gonna cycle back to something real quick. Something interesting to point out. There's 3 things, and I don't know if this is an interesting simile. Maybe Capcom is going for some symbolism here. You notice how she said Grace is her hope, right? On the t-shirt, they talk about this thing called, what is ellipsis? And at first that kind of struck me, maybe it's signifying what the lockdown is in Raccoon City extending to 2040, or maybe that's some new virus that has been discovered in the wasteland of Raccoon City and nobody knows what it is, and that might be an extension of the lockdown because of it. Because again, anything can mutate or evolve here, and they don't want people to go there, so I'm kind of trying to piece 2 and 2 together. And then there's the thing of we're talking about the idea of hope and whatnot, and ellipsis itself, apparently I looked up the word and it said ellipsis was a personified spirit of hope, and this goes back to Greek mythology. And it says, when she opened the vessel of all the spirits who escaped except for ellipsis, hope, who remained behind to comfort. This is some Greek mythos here to that word, and Capcom specifically used that word on this shirt. I'm thinking they're going to take what Ellipsis is known for and they're going to completely bastardize it. They're going to say that this virus, you know, or this antibody or something like that, being the symbol of hope, maybe is the symbol of chaos or something like that. This infection that's going on, and what they're going to name it. And I think that would be cool, as opposed to going down the lettered lists of E virus, Z virus, S virus, shit virus. I don't know. Just I think that's just a better premise entirely, to sort of flip it. But I do believe that this term is obviously going to have some clear plot indicator within, and I wouldn't be surprised if daylight virus or the daylight vaccine rather, inside of Grace will combat whatever Ellipsis is. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do something like that in the story. I don't think it's going to cure this monstrous beast that's roaming around and killing everything with Alyssa. I think that is Alyssa. It just makes thematic sense. And at the end of this,
I'm scared. No. We need to find a way out of here now.
But we don't have any of our stuff.
We can come back for it later, Grace.
she gets bagged right there by the killer. This is probably where he kills her, or maybe incapacitate and knocks Grace out. That's probably where you're gonna get information on a little tiny snippet of what this guy's motivation is once he basically kills Alyssa Ashcroft, because she does die, or she gets taken and infected. But here's the gameplay presentation. This is just Grace getting out. Again, I'm trying to skip past the stuff that we already seen and know and just get straight to the gameplay. I do find it cool. You see the struggle here? She kind of cuts herself initially. She has a plan, she's smart, but she fucks up. Again, fallible nature comes paramount with a survival horror protagonist in order for them to be relatable. That's why I kind of thought Ethan was brilliant for what they did, having the average everyman finally come back into fruition, not being a super soldier in Resident Evil. And then she gets down, so you know, just a typical standard nature, doesn't know what the fuck's going on. And here we have gameplay. Alrighty. So if I see something cool, I'm gonna point it out. This progress note says it is basically standard information talking about how this guy has been withdrawing blood, and she's in Rhodes Hill Chronic Center, if you don't know, which is adjacent or close to Raccoon City. I looked at this word Dexafil and it's completely made up, and we know that Capcom has made up terminologies before. I think they made one called Aqua something. I just forget. Aqua Cure, or you know how Capcom does these things with these made up terminologies with viruses, vaccines, and whatnot. And I would assume the same thing is going for Dexafil. Someone pointed out, and I'm going to give credit to Let's Talk Resident Evil, they believe that this was a steroid hormone in order to stabilize Grace from panicking and freaking the fuck out, to relax her muscles and ready her for further examination, which is what it says at the bottom with the later report and the time. Her condition stabilized. She's ready for further examination. In this game, you can toggle on the light switch. I find that to be interesting. I don't remember. There's a lot of blood. So there's your common little reads there. It looks like it measures vital signs. I don't remember a Resident Evil in recent memory where you could just toggle on and toggle through the lights outside of them just being part of a puzzle. Now you can do it like whenever you want, so that's interesting. And I think that's going to play a factor into the boss getting injured and being able to sway her away from certain situations because she can't go into the light without being burned. The inventory itself, and you see some of it here, it reminds me of a mixture of Resident Evil 7, which is a no-brainer considering Koshi Nakanishi is the one who is developing this game, and it looks like a mixture of RE7's inventory and Resident Evil Remake, the second one, Resident Evil 2 Remake. Typical fuse box. In order to get out, you need the key item.
Dead.
There's something on the radio there. Yeah, you heard that? So I'm gonna speed this up because the player is just like sort of searching around. Here's the cherub key. Oh, never mind. They found it. It's not journalist level where they're taking 5 million years. Oh, I see. Crouch button. That is in, again, this is a little thing that comes up here. They're signaling back to the Red Eagle. These bullets, I think, were prominent not only in the, because in the OG RE2, I swear they look just like this, so it's the same sort of bullets, and Resident Evil 4 as well, which is a cool little callback visual design. You can crouch in this game as well. There is going to be stealth elements within Requiem, and there was indicators on the inventory of how a weapon has like certain amounts of power to it or distance and making noise with throwable items, and they're really layering in the details on what is effective and what might not be as effective in certain areas, which is really cool. It creates this sense of tactical advantages and disadvantages to particular things that you hold and pick up in certain items and weapons, which is cool. And I wonder how that's going to factor late into the game when you start getting more powerful items, I assume. What is going to be the drawbacks to more powerful items and weapons, and how is it going to be tailored, and is there going to be upgrades to particular things that you pick up? It warrants exploration at its finest, and the utilization of how certain things work and operate, and I really like that. I really like, you know, picking and choosing what works to a certain situation and using that to my advantage if it's really good. I don't know, what's the point of the empty ink ribbon? I don't get it. You can collect it. I guess maybe you find something to combine with it, which is definitely different. Usually you pick up an ink ribbon, you use it once to save, and that's it. But an empty one, it just seems like now there's a combining element, and then you combine it, and then you save. I guess maybe that will warrant more challenge to exploring around and not really dicking about with certain areas in the game and saying, oh, I have to find something to fill this in order to save the game. So it leads to more interactivity. It gives you a little bit more to do, and you have to mind your surroundings heavily in this game, which I Hope is what they're gonna go for. There's the prototypical lighter. I heard people say that, oh, Clara gets a lighter in the beginning of Code Veronica, and she has like no weapons. I swear though that you could get a knife. People say no weapons, but I swear like in the beginning you had a knife in the beginning, and then you get the gun like immediately after the graveyard sequence. This is like she has the lighter. Oh my fucking god. That was actually a jump scare that slightly got me. This man is definitely dead. He looks like a zombie. I guess the common thing is you could say zombie person. Okay. But she calls it. She says he's infected. With what? We don't know.
He's dead. Infected.
And then this, where this creature is having a snack, and it sort of foreshadows the gory death that it can do to you by picking you up and biting your motherfucking head off. Oh my god, look at that, disgusting. Look at the size of that thing, dude. Compared to you, you are a summer ant compared to this creature. Holy shit. Run, bitch. Run. And yeah, you do get the animation stumbles. I wonder who's gonna be stupid enough to like cut off the light. You just get immediately fucking killed in the dark. She clears out quickly though. That gives you a zone to breathe. When you get the fuse back, I assume the power is just gonna be on. A med injector. Once again, I miss traditional green herbs, but it seems like this med injector is going to be what gives you health in the game and restore you back to full health. I wonder, will you pick up some partial ones as well? And if you can mix and match herbs to suit a certain situation. Can't say if there's going to be status elements like poison like previous Resident Evil games. I would assume you kind of gotta have that, but after playing RE7, I don't think there was ailments in the game, right? I don't remember. I do not remember. I don't think it was a poison ailment in there.
God.
But again, they could change things up. You never know. It's been quite a while since I played RE7, and just thinking of the director doing something like spooky like this again this is kind of what I wanted. Village was really not the scariest, even though I liked the game. It's not scary. I'm not sure if you station this wagon, you could be a little bit more quieter and the monster won't come here. But I saw in a different gameplay presentation to this that the player just kept making so much noise and the monster just immediately entered the room. I'm not sure if you could control this or not, but obviously the key item here I hear it screaming. You're fucked. You better get out fast. Screwdriver. It's in, it's in, it's in. Oh my god, it's in. You can loop around it. You can loop around it, which is cool. Bro, look at that fucking thing, dude. I'm wondering whether to try to... Oh yes, now it's gonna turn off the lights. It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Nope, I ain't falling for that. Now that's way too fast for that creature to be over there when it immediately went into the ceiling to cut off the light. Alright, the fact you can keep doing this is dumb. You keep looping it back into the room. Now I think the lights are off in that room. Oh my god, look how fast it got over there. Holy shit, dude. Well, the plus side is it doesn't run. Imagine if something like that started running after you like Nemesis, bro. And it's clear only certain light sources can hurt it. This red that's illuminating through the walls, it's not gonna do shit as well as the lighter. It has to be raw fluorescent light to hurt it. All right, we're gonna skip ahead because the player's just kind of kiting it around. Then they have these, you know, that was something that existed in Resident Evil 6 when the lightning was going through the windows in Leon 1 and Leon would like sort of jump to it. They say that, you know, Nakanishi's a funny character now that I think about it, right? He said that Leon wouldn't get scared to a bucket falling over or something like that. He's way too honed, but I swear in Resident Evil 6, if you move further ahead of Elena in Leon chapter 1 and there's lightning outside of the windows, Leon would do this sort of jumping animation to the lightning outside. As almost as if he's kind of a little bit fearful of what's going on. So I don't know. Again, the more I think about this statement more and more when he made it, the more you could poke holes into it when you actually played a lot of these games, which either shows he's bluffing or he just did not know that existed before prior to making this game. And if you don't believe me, well, in my own playthrough, he does it. He does it right here. Fuck that flinching shit, dude. I mean... Oh, man, dude. Oh, run. Falls over again. John from Let's Talk Resident Evil made a good point. Will all of this flinching stuff and falling over and just clambering over things, will that still occur in New Game Plus? Because he said, I could imagine that would probably be annoying to players who are honed to the experience and they want to get through it as fast as possible, but I thoroughly believe you don't fall over in first person, but still yeah, I can see that question being asked. Will all of this still occur when I have like 5,000 guns on my character and I could blow this thing away immediately? Probably not. I would assume they should make some sort of compromise for that and say, oh, here you go, have fun. You have the infinite rocket launcher, have fun.
Come on!
The skin is melting up. Oh my god, dude. It does sound like Lisa though. It is giving those sounds. Again, it could be just them fucking with us and saying it's Lisa Trevor, or people, or wanting that to be the rumor when it's really not, or they could have just administered the same virus they did to Lisa to Alyssa, and it'd be like, oh, okay, I can kind. That's a touche, clever shit. And another thing is, it drags Grace into the darkness, and she doesn't get immediately devoured. The crying here, she starts crying, and I think at that point the monster backs off because there's some situational awareness. It's Alessa kind of being a little bit aware. Oh, this is my daughter. Don't want to. I wanted to kill her earlier, but then the cries are a little bit too much, and then she fucks off. So I think that's probably what's going to happen, which is why Grace survives this. Yeah, and that's the end of the demo. I had a good time breaking this down. Hopefully you guys enjoyed me breaking down the gameplay, giving my theories, analysis, speculation, and all that stuff for Resident Evil Requiem. The big reveal for next month, at the end of next month, is going to be the Tokyo Game Show trailer. All right. And this is where I believe they are going to start showing legacy characters. This is the point. This is where you show them off. I'm not saying go full-blown scorched earth spoilers and show the ending and what happens to Leon and everything. But that trailer, the Tokyo Game Show trailer, I believe that is the perfect opportunity to begin showing some of the second half of the game, where they go to RPD. And it's some serious shit going down when you get to that point of the game, and that's where you're gonna want to say, this is where the second playable character will be shown here. There are people still doubting the fact that, oh, they're not gonna have us play as a legacy person. It's gonna be Grace all the way through. We thought that with Ethan initially with Village, and then there was that brief little segment at the end where you play as Chris. Right, that still was in the game. It was a second playable character, but very minor or small role. My dream for this game, and this is my personal opinion, is that you play the first half as Grace, and it's all spooky and scary and shit, and it symbolizes a tragic and hurt person finding out what's going on with her mom. A little more of these smaller, intimate moments of panic, dread, horror, and suspense. And then I want the second half of the game, and this is my wish list personally. I think the second half should be Leon and Jill teaming the fuck up, right? You got two survivors from the Raccoon City incident coming back into fruition and teaming up, and you can play between either of them, and that would be so fucking sick. That'd be so cool. You want to play as Jill, she goes over here. You want to play as Leon, he goes over here, and there's this big ass ellipsis outbreak going on, and the virus is super unstable and people are mutating and whatnot, and you see old haunts, you see old creatures just completely beefed up, right? And they try to stop it, and I think that would be great for the action horror side of that second half, where you're just going through all of these old environments and whatnot, and you're seeing the chaos and you're seeing everything unfold, and you see government officials fucking detail their plans and whatnot, and you see some officials work for Umbrella. I would love for Umbrella to be some Umbrella officials, like some ex-officials, be more tied to government affairs, and therefore it would tie in and say, oh shit, well, you know, here's some manipulation behind the scenes, and it makes Leon question the people that he's worked for the whole entire time even more, if anyone can be infiltrated by Umbrella officials anywhere at any time, right? That would make him even more jaded. I want to see that in this game. So, you know, that's just me spitballing, throwing out a lot of theories. Hopefully you guys really did enjoy it once again, and I will definitely be tuning in on what they have to show for Tokyo Game Show. People are saying this is Capcom's like crowning moment to show more information, more news, new games. Fingers crossed for Devil May Cry 6 or Devil May Cry Remake. You know me, you know how it goes. But I will see you guys next time. I bid you adieu. Take care of yourselves and be good people. Later.